chance on the lesson. Live in the hills, but I still get a spread. Started with a little, but I still reinvest it. Fear how I feel, then you feel like a blessing. I just want the lesson, I just want protection. I'm up and I'm down, but they sound like progression. Farmer never plans if he waits for perfection. Finger to the down.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, I got your Watchlist coming in on March 2nd, 2021, and the stock market is going crazy. Today was an epic bounce, one of the biggest up days that we have seen in months, but we still have the bond yields going a little bit crazy, but you saw the market bounce and it looked like things were coming back to normal. So it is a very interesting start to the month, and how we play out from here is going to be exciting, so I hope you're ready. But we got a lot to talk about. I want to go over what happened in the market today, some of the news, economic data, what we're looking at the rest of the week, especially with these bond movements, and then what we got as far as plays that we've made today and what we're looking at the rest of the week. So let us not delay. You guys know what you need to do. Drop your thumbs up on the video. Make sure you're subscribed. And if you don't know, we are live Monday through Friday, 30 minutes for open. It's the first link in the description, and it is pinned in the comments. We better see you there in the morning. It's free 99. It costs you nothing to join. YouTube.com/the-stock-market. You can post the plays, see the plays, watch the watch list come to life. And yes, if you want to hear about stock movements and the best stock movements, as well as other movements that are natural to your body, you know, and that occur and happen, then yeah, we are the place to be. And the most important thing you need to do, post your watch below. Let us know what you're looking at. Got any plays, comments, remixes, anything, post them below and source that info. Shout out to chat, baby. So right off the bat, the bounce was the main key today. All indexes bounced. We were up almost 700 points at one point. The NASDAQ closed up 3. You had a lot of big individual moves. We got to see Apple lead the way with a 6% gain. This was like the biggest run up, I believe, since October or June. Every time you see one of these days, a lot of those headlines come out. But the most interesting part about today is that despite the market bouncing and coming back up, the bonds pretty much stayed the same. They were elevated. They came down a little bit today, but still holding up that higher level. So this was one of the main keys we were looking for. This is one of the main things we've been talking about. It was very interesting to see stocks go up, but the bond market not really ease up. So what this is showing us is that the momentum has slowed down, but we have not retraced the moves from last week with the bonds. So as long as the rates still stay elevated, we still got some risk on the table, or at least it's kind of lingering, keeping people honest at least with where they think this bounce is going to be going. So this was the main key for today. There was a lot of other things, but sadly it didn't really give us answers as to why we saw the movements that we saw today. You did have the J&J vaccine, which I thought was pretty positive news. They have a new shot that's approved. Is one shot. It doesn't need the freezing, all of that. It doesn't need multiple shots. And you also had a very positive letter from Buffett saying what he wants to invest in, their plans moving forward with their meetings and all of that. So you had some lingering good news. There was also economic data, but a lot of the action that you saw today was more of a relief rally than news driven. And you really saw that come to life just with the fact that the bonds barely moved at all today, or at least relative to the size that you saw. So there was a couple things today. There was the economic data points, again, the ISM and all of that. And some of those did point towards inflation, but market got in this bounce mode really early in the morning and kind of just took off from then and didn't really respond to anything from there. So now tying this into the rest of the week, the real key is going to be watching to see if we get a rotation emerging, or if all markets kind of continue to pick up at the pace that we saw today, because despite all the moves from last week and even what we saw today wasn't really a rotation move, and it had a lot of those qualities of a relief rally where things kind of arbitrarily went up. Every single index, every space, obviously there was some winners and losers, but what we need to be watching this week is kind of to see if any industry tells us the story, or if we see any of the patterns emerge from last week. Otherwise, if the companies don't tell us, then everything will kind of go back to normal if we see the bonds start to react and then the bond yields start to come down. So today was a very interesting day. The fact that the bonds did not come down, even though we saw such a green day, that's what kind of has me on edge here. But we talked about it today. What happens from here is going to be really important in bonds. You know, imagine this a month, 2-3 months from now. You're either going to look back at this situation and say, oh, you remember in the beginning of the year when bonds went crazy? You're like, yeah, I remember that. It led to this. And it's either pretty much going to be an overreaction, which is what we saw this last week. Otherwise, this situation can continue and then might lead into something else. So I brought this up yesterday. We're watching it play out today. The question is, does this moment in bond history get forgotten as a blip, or does this turn into something else? And well, that's what we're going to see for the rest of the week. So I hope you're ready, but that is pretty much it. So let us get into the plays. So right off the bat, I got 3 different plays that I'm looking at coming into tomorrow. One of them we made today. The other 2, we have positions, but we don't really have the best positions on them, and that's the ones I want to look at. But the first one is going to be DraftKings. I really like this one. We grabbed some of the weeklies, and I'm still holding those leaps. I'll go over them. But why I like it, because it's moving a lot. It's at all-time highs, but the options aren't really pricing in a big move despite it kind of being at these levels. And I think it's just because the stock has been moving slow recently. So come to the DraftKings chart, you'll see they killed it today. They closed up 11%. You bring it up to the daily, this is just an all-time high level. You guys remember when we played it around here, but you can kind of see lately it just hasn't moved with that same velocity. This took a lot more effort. It was moving 20-30% in a week last time. So remember, they did add to the float, or they did that offering. So that's what I think is kind of affecting it and slowing down the options. But as far as the play, I grabbed 2 of the March 12th next week $80 calls for 48 cents. Kept it small. Those are pretty much the only options, or the time frame that had options less than 50-60 bucks. But those are still like 50% out the money. They moved up a little bit, but then they kind of held that close. So it's interesting how those played out, because then I even brought this up on stream. If you come and look at the leap, you guys remember we grabbed these at the beginning of the year. I grabbed 3 of these. We talked about why you would either get the shares or the leaps or not, but I'll show you on the other chart. It'll be a little bit better, but I noticed the contracts with more time and closer to the money, these contracts actually had a pretty decent gain. We finally went up on these plays, but then when you come back to the shorter term contracts, those just did not go up at all. So the ones with time here, you could see them kind of breaking out finally. Again, closer to the money is kind of breaking out from that range, but then you start getting to the May and the April contract. I guess some of these started breaking out later in the day. I guess they ended up closing a little bit higher, but till the end of the day, a lot of these were just not breaking out from some of these levels. And then when you start bringing up the Marches, again, this thing had a lot of volatility, so they had a lot of further out the money contracts, but you could see kind of here, some of these have not broken out. So this one could be a good frog play to watch this week. The contracts with more time are getting premium. The ones with shorter amounts of time further out the money have not gotten it yet, but if they start to get that momentum, that could be good. So I really like them. That is going to be the first play. The second play I'm going to be looking at coming in tomorrow is RKTA. I still like it. I talked about it yesterday. The plays are really expensive. I may want to sell a credit spread or do a debit spread, but I just like the news, the fact that it's holding up today, running into a positive day, and the fact that it has intrinsic value just attached with that dividend news or the special dividend. So I think that one's going to be really good, especially if this one kind of breaks out of that range that it's been in. I think it'll be even better. So I'm hoping this one could frog. I still like it. Going to keep it on watch, but the reason why I haven't been playing it is it has been expensive. So we will see how that one plays out. And then finally, the last play is going to be Zoom. So I still have those leap puts. We were up on them. They're probably going to get clapped tomorrow, but the fact that they had really good earnings and good guidance, I think this is going to lead to a good continuation. If you guys remember, we've been watching Zoom for a while. So even when you start to put it up on the yearly, you can see it's kind of been in that range. This earnings was a real surprise, 20%. They're already up a lot, good guidance and everything. This could kick in some growth. So I think this might be a really active trade tomorrow. So I'm going to be watching that. So those are going to be the main plays to watch. But now as far as everything else in the same line of logic with earnings, watch NEO. They ended up doing a little bit of a pop lock. I want to see how that plays out. Tesla ended up bouncing today. I think that will be key. Watch the banks. Those retraced the losses from yesterday. So I brought this up kind of using them as that canary. So the fact that they held up is good. Watch any of the other financials, see how they play out. Watch J&J. I'm surprised it didn't get more movement. I mean, they've moved a lot better than Pfizer or any of the other companies. They're interesting when it comes to the whole value growth rotation. So the fact that they're up and have that news, I want to see how this plays out the rest of the week. They could be good. Watch DraftKings, like we said. Tesla closed above 700. The fact it opened below 700 was kind of interesting. They're still hanging around that like Kathy Woods level, so I want to see how that plays out. So watch them. Watch Apple. Again, this was that leader. The fact that they closed up 6%, this is huge. I want to see how this plays out the next few days. I don't know if they'll continue moving at this pace pretty much. The fact that they doubled the NASDAQ, they're going to either keep running with this speed to kind of make up some of that lost ground from last week. Otherwise, it might slow down. But watch them. I think that could be a decent play. And then Wayfair, they killed it today. Options were really expensive. This might be a decent one with premium. The fact that they're holding up, though, I just like some of these growth names. They might even get back to a breakout point. So they're at a very interesting level, especially on the 1 year. So they were very exciting today. So watch them. Watch NEO. Watch McDonald's. They ended up going up, but kind of confusing as far as lagging and leading. I want to see how that plays out. Same thing with HD. Bounced up a little bit. If they could get some steam, that could be good. I believe those leaps are somewhat down, so watch them. Watch Dropbox. I brought this up today. Remember, we had them earlier. They had the earnings, and they're kind of holding up. I still think they're a pretty decent name, so I just don't want to forget about them, especially how they've moved the last couple weeks. So watch them. Watch Boeing. I still think this is going to be a really big candidate. It's kind of reminding me of Apple, but Boeing for the Dow, they were 6% as well today. They also got orders, I believe, from American Airlines. You also saw travel stocks go up, so that was positive news. So watch them. I think after it chills out, you might might be able to get some cheap options. It's been a while since we've got a Boeing play. RKTA, like we said, and then Ford, they killed it above $12. I was looking at it earlier today. Again, we have a long-term deposit. I don't know if I'm necessarily going to be getting Ford. A lot of people have been asking me, but I've just liked it in general of this value rotation thing that we've been seeing, and that's what we pretty much need to be watching moving forward. Do you see that rotation go back, or does it turn to a broader market move? And then finally, as far as bonds and TLT, you saw it today. This is the momentum slowing down. It's not as if we continue to go down now. The last 2 days, it's kind of chilling out for a little bit, but we did not have any of that retracement. The key here is, where do bonds go from here? Do we either start to kind of relax a little bit, let the momentum kill off, and then that could kind of free up some of the upside for a lot of these stocks in the market? Or if the market still holds up and then we start to see TLT come down again, I would not feel too safe about that, and I wouldn't really see it as the market getting over it. And I think that would open up our opportunity for TLT to snitch, so I hope you're ready. But that is your watch list, ladies and gentlemen. Make sure you have your hoodie ready to go. Make sure you post your watch list. Make sure we see you there in the morning. I need the armor on. I need the helmet shining. I need you to not treat God like that puppy, baby. But the code loves you. I love you. We'll see you in the morning. Let's go.